Greetings, friends. Danielle Smith here with the Alberta Enterprise Group for another podcast. I'm really looking forward to this one. We found out about Dagmar Knudsen a couple of weeks ago with Mark Schultz from the Canadian Association of Energy Contractors. He, and as well as actually Gurpreet Lail, the Petroleum Services Association of Canada, the new boss over there, are both going to be on a discussion group, a full day conference taking place Wednesday, October the 20th. So just next week. Here's the catch. It's not for you and me. It's for your kids and grandkids. So grades 9 till 12. We're going to tell you all about it. When I started looking at the program, I was envious. I asked Dagmar, how could I sign up? And she said, you can't, but you are going to be able to see the sessions afterwards because she'll edit them and then be able to post them online. But I want you to hear the story of how it is that she decided to put this conference together in the first place, because I think you're frustrated. You know, I'm frustrated when kids come home from school and they think that the Canadian energy sector is the worst in the world. And we sort of wring our hands thinking, what can we do about it? Now, let's give a little bit of credit to teachers that we ask them to do an awful lot. They can't be experts in everything. However, teachers could also take the initiative to sign up their classes for this conference so that they can get the full broad range of perspective. They're making the resources available. So I would just put that out there. If you're a parent or grandparent concerned that your child may not have a balanced view about energy and environment, this is the conference for you. If you want them to participate, we'll tell you how you can register. But we'll also, I think the main objective would be to get more classes to register. In fact, why not get whole high schools to register? As I mentioned, it's for grade 9 and up. So there's some junior high schools that have grade 9 kids in them. And maybe if you're so inspired, as I am, after listening to Dagmar, you can call the school and see if the principal will sign up the kids for the day, or see if a teacher will sign up the kids for the day. So this has an action item coming out of it. Now, I've also written a column about it tomorrow, so you'll see a little bit more. But we've got a few days to get kids registered and excited about this. And once you find out about the program, you are going to be excited too. So joining me now to talk about it is Dagmar Knudsen. She's going to tell us a little bit about her history, and we're going to find out why she started this conference. And I hope it becomes an annual tradition, or maybe even more so. Dagmar, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Danielle. It's a pleasure.
So let's begin by telling your story, because you're not an educator yourself, but my goodness, maybe you'll have to consider that as a career profession once you're done this conference. It's so ambitious. It's such an amazing lineup. But tell me how it is you got started on it.
Well, in April 2019, when my son was in grade 9, he's in grade 12 now, he comes home and he goes, Mom, we're the worst in the world. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, our oil sands, we are the worst in the world. I said, okay, I know our emissions always haven't been the greatest, but I said, do you know that they've come down 20 to 30%, depending on what business you're talking about? He's like, nope, don't know anything about that. I said, carbon capture, it's a big thing in the world, and it's definitely a big thing here in Alberta. I said, do you know anything about that? And he goes, no, I don't know anything about that. I go, we live in Red Deer. I said, you play hockey in Lacombe, and literally 15 minutes down the highway from the arena is the injection site for the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line. I said, do you know anything about the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line? And he goes, no, Mom. But our textbooks are, our teacher said our textbooks are at least 5 years out of date. And I said, fair enough. I work in the oil and gas business. I have been a professional here. I'm a chartered accountant. I've been working in the business for over 25 years. And right now I work at a welding shop. I'm the CFO here. And we have technology and innovation that changes every year. And so I said, fair enough. Our teachers are amazing at what they do. We have a great environment, educational system. What we would like, though, is to have a little bit more information. And so I thought, okay, who wants to get an email from Dagmar? So I emailed his middle school, including the principal, and I said, okay, I'm willing to share an email once a month. Who would like to receive it? And so his math, social, and science teacher got back to me. I started out with 2 teachers because the one was sharing the one topic. And now, you know, as he's in grade 12, I've added his teachers as I go every year. So now I'm up to 20 or so. And every month I still send out articles, videos. My family's originally from Germany, so I kind of keep my ear to the ground what's going on there. So I, you know, share what is the technology and innovation and the entrepreneurship occurring here in Alberta. And I share that once a month.
Hold on. Okay, I better pause you for a minute because I want to get on to talking about the conference. But if people are watching and want to get on that newsletter. It sounds like you're going to keep on doing it. How do they sign up to that if you wanted to get a few more teachers on it?
So we have 10 Peaks is the not-for-profit that I started then. Started now in January because the idea morphed from that initial newsletter into hosting conferences for students, because it was clear to me that there was, a great opportunity to share what we are doing about climate change and so forth with students. They want to know. And so we started 10 Peaks, and I gathered the team together in January, and there's a website that we have at www.digits10peaks.ca, and there's a blog there and a newsletter that you can sign up, and once a month you can hear from us.
Fantastic. Okay, so then let's talk about the genesis of 10 Peaks. First of all, tell us what it means.
I have a deep and abiding love of our mountains, and I was inspired when I go hiking and so forth, and so it just spoke to me about our mountains and our environment and our climate, and we're all in it together. And I thought it's inspiring and engaging, and that's how I came up with 10 Peaks.
You know what's so interesting to me is that that's, I think, how all of us feel in Alberta. And that's how anybody, no matter what industry you're in, I think if you live in Alberta and enjoy our mountain parks, you're just as much of an outdoors person and an environmentalist as you are somebody who cares about having a strong economy as well. We have that balance, but it's not always reflected. And I wonder, as you have gone through and you've been educating teachers and talking to educators, is it really just that things are moving so quickly and we can't keep up with it, or is there something else that's a miss there that the industry itself is missing?
In April 2019, in the fall, I'm an accountant, so I'm at the oil and gas conference, and I went to a 2-day conference there, and 8 out of the 10 sessions that were there, they spoke about the Alberta carbon trunk line. Now, let's give a little bit of perspective. 80% of the fellow accountants that I was with are from Calgary. And it was a surprise to me that majority of them, my fellow accountants, didn't have understanding about Alberta carbon trunk line either. And I thought, how is this possible? I don't think it's just limited to the fact that, our educators are doing an amazing job and there is a lot of technology innovation out there. I just think as a people, as a whole in Alberta, we have world-class solutions, and the word hasn't been getting out. And so I thought, there is an opportunity here. If I, as a working professional, encounter people, that live and work in the industry as well, and they don't know, then I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to start and do my part. And I want to share the innovation and technology and the entrepreneurship that we have here in Alberta. And I thought, I want to hold a conference. And so that's how I was inspired by all of that.
So you're going to have to educate me on the Alberta carbon trunk line, because I was under the impression that it's the Northwest upgrader with a project with enhanced energy to capture the CO2. And I thought it was all centered in Fort Saskatchewan. So when you told me that part of the line is right near where you live, I thought, maybe I need to educate myself a little bit more about where this trunk line goes. So what did you find out? And that you'll be passing on to the kids in one of the sessions at this conference?
Well, I found out that it's a world-class solution and it has a lot of applications across the world. Our program will have, of course, those 3 businesses speaking. But on top of all of that, we have a very eclectic and diverse speaker group. The premise of the conference is that 1/3 of the program is traditional oil and gas transitioning to meet their net zero goals. 1/3 of the program is for the alternative energy group and all the businesses and research that is involved in that space. And then the final 1/3 is for environment and climate. So let's talk about sustainability. What can kids do to reduce their demand? Because as they grow into being adults, they are consumers of energy. And of course, in our central Alberta area, we have a number of plastics and chemical businesses. And so what are we doing about recycling and industrial recycling? So our tracks that we then have for our speakers, we gathered over 36 speakers. And so we have 5 concurrent tracks that we'll be running. And the titles for them are Carbon and
Let,
Climate.
let's go through them one at a time because there's so much information here. I don't want to overload people on it. So I was looking through them myself because I think that bears sort of explaining a little bit that if somebody signs up for this conference, they have to choose between 5 different streams because they're running concurrently, and they don't have to be there even for the whole conference, right? They can just pop in if there's a particular speaker in a particular hour. If you register for this, you only need to even participate in one session, right?
That's absolutely right. Kids need a choice. We thought it was important for them to have a choice during that particular time. The conference starts at 8:30, and our keynote speaker launches at 9. And then there are sessions that run in half-hour sessions, and some sessions are 20 minutes. And yes, they run all day until 3:45.
Okay. So how much does it cost for teachers to sign up? How much does it cost for students to sign up?
It is free. There is no cost for our registrants.
Okay, perfect. Because you have other conferences that do have a fee associated with them, but you've got a ton of sponsors on this one. So talk to me a little bit about why, about who's been involved in sponsoring it, so that we know that it's a partnership. It looks like across all of the education institutes that deal in technology and in providing workers to the energy sector.
Yes, I have been very fortunate. We have gotten tremendous support across all sectors. Our 3 premium booths that we have in and sponsors is the Alberta Emerald Foundation, also the University of Calgary group with the CEDV and School of Public Policy, and the architecture group, all about sustainability. And of course, our third one is TC Energy, who is also hosting the TC Energy 10 Trees program, where the kids will have an opportunity to win access to plant trees. I grew up on a sawmill, and I have a deep and abiding love of trees, and I believe in urban forestation, and I think the more trees we plant, the better.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Okay. Now, how do you overcome? We may as well deal with this right off the hop. Is that I wanted people to know who was funding it, because there's always this reticence of, do you want to go to an industry-sponsored conference? But you can't find out what the industry is doing unless the industry is there on the panel. So, how would you describe this conference to teachers who might have some concern about that?
Well, I'd like to say that I have approached all our speakers and a variety of businesses from all those energy sectors. And so, yes, we do have sponsors from traditional oil and gas entities. We do, but we also have them from the alternative energy side. And I've had great support from the environment and climate side as well. And so, yes, hosting a platform, it is not cheap. It is a safe and secure platform. It's a closed event to students and teachers, and we want to provide an engaging and inspiring conference. And so, yeah, that all takes a little bit of funding.
Well, when I look at the program, I think you've succeeded in spades. So let's talk about the 5 different tracks. So first track is the carbon and climate track. Students are going to learn about carbon capture, storage, and utilization, what comes next after phasing out coal, because of course they've made the decision to shut down coal-fired electricity plants, and in the most case, switch over to natural gas. But tell us some of the speakers that you have there and what you hope to accomplish.
Well, as you mentioned at the top of your program, we have speakers from Northwest Refinery. Vanessa, she will be actually presenting her session live from the refinery. And then we follow down through Wolf Midstream. We have the president there speaking, and then of course, Jeff Pearson. And then of course, our last group is Enhance Energy. And we have Candace Payton, who used to work at Alberta Innovates and so forth. So we were very excited to have her. Joy Romero from CNRL will also be speaking, talking about their net zero program. And of course, Bree Fox from Capital Power. I think my son asked, what are we doing about electricity? And if we're getting off coal, we burn natural gas, what's going to happen there? And I thought, oh, you have to listen to this one speaker, because she's going to share how that's going to work. So yes, we're very excited about that track.
Tell me a bit more about the carbon capture, utilization, and storage, because it seems to me that there is so much opportunity there. And yet I'm surprised that we just haven't heard as much about it. When I talk to industry leaders about it, they keep telling me, yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. We know how to do this. And we know we use it for enhanced oil recovery. Do you think that there has been some major change in the last couple of years about looking at carbon capture utilization and storage that people need to be brought up to speed on? Is it that they've been quietly working behind the scenes and not done a very good job marketing what they're doing? What's the nature of the problem?
Oh, I think it is a little bit of everything. I mean, that project here in Canada or in Alberta here started like over 10 years ago, and it took a little while to build and so forth. And now it's finally operational. But I think Ian McGregor and the group there that started it all with the refinery and so forth have provided a world-class solution. And when the UK and Europe here just this past year announced that they were also going to do carbon capture, our technology is being harnessed and they are using it over there. I think having a cavern underneath our feet, that's the second largest in the world, is definitely an advantage. And I think it's a big solution, especially, for our needs here and not only for Alberta, but for Canada as a whole. The US appears to be endorsing and working towards carbon capture as a key solution. And so it is one of the many solutions to address climate change. And so I'm glad we're part of the forefront and on the leading edge of it.
That's going to be amazing. Okay, so then the second track under alternative energy, my goodness, there's so many to choose from here. You're going to be talking about geothermal, small scale modular nuclear reactors, solar, wind, hydrogen, microalgae. We'll talk a little bit about that one too. But tell us how you put that program together and just give us a sense of who the speakers are and the kind of things kids will be learning.
Oh my goodness, Danielle, I'm so excited about alternative energy. It's going to kick off with some geothermal from John Redfern from Evertech, who's doing amazing things in the world. And then, of course, we have Gray Alton, who's also going to speak about geothermal, about, facilities and waste heat and what we can do about that and all the jobs that are related in this industry in order to provide and create that opportunity for Alberta. And the future of our students. Oh my gosh. And then yes, Hatch with Chelsea Klassen and Mario Parra is going to talk about small nuclear reactors. We have just started to talk about how that might be a benefit to Alberta, but also for carbon, our future. That's a great thing. And I am so excited to talk about hydrogen. Oh my gosh, I can barely sit still. It's going to kick off with Maggie Hanna from an Energy Future Lab fellow. And then Chief Billy Moran from the Enoch Cree Nation is going to follow her and speak about the Edmonton Hydrogen Hub and what the nation there is doing for their sustainability efforts. So, and yes, of course, we have USC speaker Tanya, who works on microalgae. And so, yes, a breadth and depth of alternative energy. And so I'm very excited to have
what I love about that section is that oftentimes alternative energy is always depicted as just being two options, solar and wind. Now you don't ignore solar and wind, it's important, but I think we're really broadening out, especially when you look at the opportunity in Alberta. It's a bit different because we've got such a large natural gas basin. It makes sense for us to do hydrogen because we've already got a bunch of wells that have been drilled. If you can interconnect them, it makes sense for us to do geothermal. Now I don't know much about and small scale nuclear. I mean, to me, it seems like the biggest opportunity there is that we can use it in some of the high intensity productions, whether it's mining site or some other high energy use, to be able to reduce the overall footprint of whatever industrial products we're producing, whether it's oil sands or something else. So I love the concept bias. So let me talk about that and microalgae a little bit. Where are we at with small scale nuclear? I always wonder when we talk about it and when I hear politicians signing agreements, are we on the cusp of something being approved that can be rolled out? Or is this a 20-year process? Do you know where we're at?
You know what? I think we're at the beginning of the process. I don't know exactly where we're at, but I'm going to be listening to Chelsea and Mario from Hatch to explain it all. They've been involved in Indigenous relations and so forth as well. And where is all of that? And what are we doing about it? And how are we considering nuclear? So yes, I'm very interested. That is one of the areas that I have not had a lot of information on just because I think it is so new. So I am very excited to to have them come speak. And how you alluded to solar and wind, yes, I know that they are not new, but there is new things going on there. Like we can see with Alberta leading in the solar panel and environment and so forth. There are great things, and I'm very excited to have Heather McKenzie, the Executive Director of Solar Alberta, come and speak and share with students Solar 101. Let's start at the beginning. I do have a bit of a 5-year plan, and so I hope to have some of the speakers come back every year. So,
oh, fantastic. Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about your 5-year plan in a minute, but I need to understand more about microalgae. I remember reading years ago, one of the advantages of algae is that it creates that circular economy, and I think that's what everybody's striving for, is that if you need to use energy and it creates emissions, find a way to capture those emissions. That's one of the things that the energy sector is doing with carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Algae's kind of got that built-in circular model. If you're going to use it for fuel, then you grow more algae. It kind of creates that circular system too. And I think the one thing I'd heard about algae is that it could be a replacement for gasoline and diesel fuel. But you tell me what brought that onto your radar and if I'm in the right direction on it.
Because that's exactly what it is. It's a new technology, and there is a lot of opportunity. There's actually a student-led action plan that we would like to offer after the conference is over to continue the learning into the classroom. And it talks about microbes and so forth and creating energy. And the technology there, I'd like to know more about it. I think a speaker from U of C, right? And she's she's originally from Finland. I think it will be quite amazing. I think you're right. I think it's not a lot has been talked about it. And I think as a future opportunity for students that are going to be graduating from high school who might have an interest in an alternate form of energy, perhaps this is your conversation that you'll hear and that will inspire you to follow in that footsteps and perhaps find a home here in Alberta on development.
How did you find that speaker? Because as people are sort of listening, they're probably saying, hey, if you're going to have future conferences and you've got a 5-year plan, I know somebody who I should put you in touch with. How did you find that speaker?
So this speaker came to me from my board of director member, Dr. Irene Harrimans. She's a SEDV alumni and Haskayne school professor. And she's well respected in the sustainability education area in Alberta. And so she, of course, being a professor there at U of C, she suggested we bring Tanya on, and I thought absolutely,
Okay, well, I'll look for that one once you post it online. So now your third stream is an energy thought leaders stream. And you may have to tell us a little bit about some of these organizations. Green Learning Canada, Careers, The Next Generation. Our members will be very familiar with them. Alberta Eco Trust, the Canadian Energy and Climate Nexus. You've got SAIT, you've got the Plastics Alliance of Canada, and the University of Calgary. So lots of great institutions. So tell me about that lineup.
Well, we wanted to address sustainability and recycling, and we wanted to address, students and their energy demand. And I'm very excited to have Green Canada Learning, the education wing of the Pembina Institute. What a fantastic opportunity to listen from Sydney. They put on fantastic webinars, and I partook and watched some of her webinars, and I just thought, you know what? She's such an engaging personality, and I hope kids really tune to what she has to say. So I'm very excited to have her come speak.
Can I ask you a bit about the Pembina Institute? Because I think some of our listeners will be thinking that in years past, they've had some pretty hostile speakers and to the energy sector. Is there some sort of transformation that's happening there as well about them embracing the energy sector as being part of the solution of the future?
I can't speak on behalf of their platform and so forth, but I do know that we are all aligned, that we have our kids' future in common. And if we consider that we have common goals and we work on collaborating and working together, then I think we can accomplish great things. So I'm very happy to have Sydney speak about energy demand and making kids more mindful about energy use and energy waste. I think it is part of the reuse, reduce, recycle mantra that we all grew up with. When I was in middle school and high school, that was, in the 80s, that's what was there. And I think that those words are still relevant today. And I'm glad that we can have diverse opinions and people from different sides being able to sit down and have conversations and share knowledge. And I think that's for our conference, that's one of my hopes, is that we build some bridges and we allow for diverse voices and have the kids make up their own minds.
Tell me a bit about Alberta Eco Trust.
Oh, Pat Letizia, I'm very excited. They're well known in Calgary to provide funding for as a fund operator, but they also have a strong support for environment and how to make things better there, and to also be keep that in your forefront. And so I'm very excited to have her come speak, and I look forward to hearing from her.
And the Canadian Energy and Climate Nexus, what do they do?
David Milia is the executive director there. They also champion conversations. His topic will be to discuss, the polarization of the energy and climate and so forth. And so they are champions for also hosting wide breadth and depth of conversations, and how we can move forward and be more in a collaborative space and in a solution space and go forward with that. So looking forward to hearing from him and his perspective.
I'm glad you got the Plastics Alliance of Canada on there, and I see that they're talking about the circular economy. What is the basic premise that they're approaching? Because you do have the Prime Minister putting something forward that's not a different track, which is banning single-use plastics. What's the alternative view if you look at it from a circular economy point of view?
Oh, wow. Now you're getting a little beyond my technical expertise there.
Well, why do you have them on there?
Because I think it's a big part of the solution. 86% of our plastics now, even though we recycle, end up in the landfill. It's not the way we can continue moving forward. We can reuse and reduce that. And I think a big part of that, of course, is we do all our part, because we're all in it together. So, it would be wonderful to hear from industry, and there are recycling initiatives there, but it's also important to understand that we as consumers have a responsibility. So I'd like to, bring in that whole concept of the circular economy. It's not just up to one person to do something, it's up to all of us. And so that's why I wanted to have them come speak. I think there's some relevant learnings there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation as well.
All right, now let me put these three together. University of Calgary, SAIT, and Careers the Next Generation, all of those sort of take a stab at connecting kids to jobs that they might, and careers that they might have in the future. So I'm glad to see that that's a strong component there, because I get the sense that kids don't know what they don't know about the jobs that are available in the energy sector. Are you going to try to fill the gap with those three panelists?
Well, and not only in the energy sector, let's remember that this is the kids' future, right? And so they might be interested, in going into research or working at a university. For example, SAIT, Melanie Ross will be speaking about green buildings and so forth. And so there's fantastic technology that, might float your boat about, buildings and architecture, and you might have an inspiration for that and wanted to contribute for that. So I think our students' future, it's not only in the energy industry, but what about our alternative energy industry? What about in research? What about in policy making? What about in being a supporter? And perhaps you want to, work for Pat Letizia and the Alberta Eco Trust. Maybe you might want to go into the not-profit sector, and perhaps you want to work for the Alberta Emerald Foundation. They do beautiful work. We are all in this together, and where the kids' heart is, they should be able to see themselves and have a future in where they see themselves. And I think the opportunity here in Alberta, yes, energy is, a beautiful traditional industry, but we're in transition and things are changing, and there are many places. And I just like to start the conversation and see if we can inspire the kids to see that there are other opportunities here for them, and perhaps they can see themselves and, and their future here in Alberta.
Yeah, I am interviewing a company next week. It's an energy company that's developed an arm for drone technology, and they use optical gas imaging to go and scout out where there might be methane leaks. And you think, I wonder how many kids know that they can enter a job in the energy sector and be flying drones all day looking for methane leaks so that they can seal them and prevent greenhouse gases from leaking into the atmosphere. So I think that we're sort of reframing all of the jobs that are available. It's not just taking it out of the ground, it's figuring out how to put it back in, it's figuring out how to make useful products, it's figuring out how to manage landscapes. Most of these companies are really developing multiple arms, it seems to me.
It is. And Dr. Ann Nemeth from U of A that will also be speaking from the energy systems that they have there. She's also much into, land and so forth, her background. And I'm just so excited to showcase the variety and the depth of opportunities that there are. There are a lot of things that are ongoing, and a lot of businesses and a lot of entrepreneurs, but there's also a lot of researchers. And in our program, like, we have people from academia, from Indigenous background, from researchers to, if we talk about our next track, the Inspiring Innovation, we have a speaker from Alberta Innovates who's going to be speaking about biofuels. Let's talk about all the opportunities that we have. Okay, well, who's going to work in biofuels, and who's going to research them, and then who's going to create them? And if that floats your students, your child's boat, then perhaps there's an opportunity in biofuels. There's a lot of opportunity here.
Also on that Inspiring Innovation track, you've got skilled trades in there, progress on addressing mining tailings as well as Indigenous-led companies. I'm glad to see that you've got a strong Indigenous component in there with a couple of speakers, because that's been what I've observed too, is there's so much First Nations development, First Nations business opportunity that has just sprung up in the last 5 to 10 years. It's been amazing to see.
Braden Daychief is going to be he is an amazing young man. He's a University of Lethbridge student, and he hosts a podcast. He works with the Indigenous Resource Network, and so he'll be speaking about his role there. And yeah, he has a podcast where he interviews different Indigenous peoples working with their own businesses and so forth in the energy industry. And so I'm very excited to have him come speak, because he's a young person, not too far removed from a grade 12 student, and he's got a great personality. I think people will find him very, very engaging.
That's going to be awesome. Oh, was there more in that section? Because we also want to talk about the final track too.
Just to mention Heather Kaminsky from NATE, speaking about tailings ponds, which is the slurry waste product from mining, and how possible that is. She's working on a long-term project, and perhaps she might figure out how to eliminate those. And I don't know if eliminate is the complete accurate word, but she's researching on how to reduce their impact. So yeah, looking for.
It's funny, because I've talked to innovative companies as well that talk about the incredible value that we still have in those tailings. We're beginning to see that there's all these rare earth metals and minerals available, like vanadium and cesium, and I don't even know how to pronounce some of the other EMs. But because they're so valuable in creation of batteries and other new technologies, you don't need to mine that much out for it to be able to sell for a large price. So being able to get more value out of the tailings, I think, is going to be a huge new growth area of the future too. So that'll be a great one. So last area, transforming technology. And I like this. You've got an Ask Anything session with Suncor's Gary Bunio. You've got Red Deer Polytechnique, Mesama Muri, discussing the role of Generation Z and Alpha on our future energy roadmap. I actually was wondering what happened when we finished Generation Z. I guess we go right back to the beginning again. So thanks for answering that question for me. But tell me what you're hoping to do in this transforming technology track.
Well, I have, I'm very excited. It showcases a little bit about everything else, where we have more talk from Gary Bunyo. What do the students want to hear? So when the students register, there are 5 main concepts there that they can say, hey, I want to hear about this concept, or they have, space for a 6th opportunity to say, this is what I really want to know about. So when they register, they kind of put their vote in, and then we will provide Gary the results of that on Monday, I think, just so that he has a day or two before so that he can see what the kids want to know about. So that's very exciting. We have also Dr. Ian Gates speaking from University of Calgary. He wants to talk about, bitumen to hydrogen. So I think that's also relevant. Other opportunities and alternatives for a traditional oil and gas that now is transitioning. And then, of course, Mason from the Red Deer Polytechnique here. It was important for us to talk about, the opportunities and what the next steps are. And so all of our speakers that we have in all of these tracks, we do have a couple panels. There's the one panel that's in this track speaks specifically about recycling, where we have some of our chemical and plastic companies speaking. And so as Deborah Patriusik would kick it off on the other track, then this panel would continue on the conversation about that industrial plastic recycling and what we can do. Some beautiful speakers, a couple grade 12 students out of Bashaw that started up a recycling business this past summer. And I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity for them to be showcased and how they thought they could contribute and what they could do for their part for action on climate change.
Well, and I'm glad that you're on the government's radar screen as well. I gather that you just added Natural Resources Minister Dale Malley as a keynote at lunch.
Yeah, the associate minister will be there speaking at the break. So yeah, we are excited to have him come speak, a former teacher. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to him.
And so much happening on the natural gas front too. I'm sure he'll have some great insights. So tell me a bit about what you hope to accomplish then. You have a 5-year plan around this. Tell us how you hope this will grow.
Well, my vision for it is to inspire and engage and educate students and how they see themselves in the future of Alberta, as it relates to energy and the environment and climate. Our 5-year plan is that I do want to include all of our natural resources that we have in Alberta. So I would like to every year have a different theme. And so, for example, like to include the forestry industry, like to include the agriculture industry. Let's talk about mining. There's other industries, tech. There are other industries that are prevalent in Alberta, and I would like to add them to the conference every year. Energy will always be, of course, for obvious reasons here in Alberta and the transition that is happening here. They will always have the topics and so forth, but if we think that at least a third of the topics then will be the new, the additional industry, then yeah, we will be able to, let kids know, and, as they graduate, that there's opportunities for them in these other industries, and maybe they see themselves in those.
How has it changed anything for your son now that you've had this conversation, you've been putting this conference together? What if you were to ask him today what he thought about Canadian energy, would his view be changed?
You know what? He sees himself working here in Alberta. I asked him a couple of weeks ago, maybe now it's already 4 weeks ago. I said, what do you want to know about this conference? And what he said to me, he goes, Mom, I want to know what we are doing about climate change. And I thought that was quite prolific. It wasn't about what's the government doing or what is industry doing or what is Canada doing, what's Alberta doing. It was more about what are we doing? What are we doing? It's all of us together working on, this idea of collaboration. And I thought, bang on, dude, you've got this figured out. Let's talk about it. And, I was inspired. Oh, well, in my head, I'm going, well, you're going to enjoy the conference because, let's talk about all the different people working here in Alberta and what is happening to address climate change. But it's also about your future and, where do you see yourself? And so I hope, I have hope for the future. I know it's a tough situation that we're in now, and it's going to take, as he says, boots to the ground, because he plays hockey, and when they have a bad period, it's boots to the ground. So I think there are boots to the ground here, and so I am hopeful for the future, but I know it's going to take a lot of work.
Have you got any feedback yet from the kids about the kind of things they're hoping to get out of it? You said that you're going to solicit their input about questions. And I know that you've got several hundred kids that are already registered, but have you gotten any other feedback about what it is the kids are hoping to get out of it?
You know what? I don't have any feedback now, but we will be having surveys during the conference, for our speakers, so people can, the students can give us back feedback then and say, what sessions they really enjoyed and what speakers they really enjoyed, and, if they were inspired or not. So there is going to be a survey that they can fill out afterwards, so we can get their feedback. And of course, the teachers as well, because we like to hear from them. And we hope to make the conference about them on a go forward basis. And so, yeah, we want to hear from their voices. Like, kids can't vote, and they're just started to go into the, the work world now. And for this conference, one of the things that we haven't talked about as for feedback is that after a session is over, then the speaker can go to the a networking table, and for half an hour, then those kids can then go and talk to those speakers or someone from their representative and have one-on-one conversations. So not just through chat, but it's more like, a video conversation. The kids can turn their cameras off if they prefer, but they can then ask those questions and talk and have one-on-one conversations. So I'm hoping that, all the speakers go there with an open heart and hear from the students. And I'm hoping that the students and teachers who also register and have their kids then, projecting to their classroom. So, if there's like one person signed up there, there's, could be 25 kids in the background, that they also come with an open heart and have a great conversation and ask some tough questions. And my hope is that those comments and opinions from students are then taken back into industry and taken back into our educational academia, all of our speakers, and that that will foster a little bit of understanding, and maybe some of those bright minds and bright ideas that the students have will make an impact, and they can then also contribute to that person's path. And
Well,
just
from a
hoping the
student perspective,
conversation.
the thing I worry about is that if kids feel like going to work for a company is not good for the planet, then that's going to be offside with their values, and they're not going to want to seek those opportunities. I would love for kids to come out of this knowing that they can be in the energy sector and be doing great things for the planet because those who are at the forefront and have the money and the means and are doing the transformation, they're creating all these wonderful opportunities. I hope that there's a lot of enthusiasm for the potential for jobs in these areas.
I agree. I think there is a lot of opportunity and there is a lot of potential. And you know what? I always have the opinion, if I don't really care who has the great idea. If it's a great idea, it's a great idea. And I don't care if it comes from a scientist that's working in academia, that is in research, or if it comes from a scientist that is working in industry or for a nonprofit. I think all ideas have merit, and I like having ideas shared. And I hope our students understand that there are a lot of people from all walks of life working on this issue. And I think everybody has an opportunity to contribute. And so that's what I'm hoping to get out of this is, yes, that they see that there are adults working on it fast and furiously.
Well, let's talk then about the teachers, because this is a little complicated, because I think that there's an expectation on the part of parents that this broad range of perspective would be embedded in the classroom and embedded in the curriculum. There is also, I think, teachers have worked very hard to professionalize their profession. And so I don't want them to look at what you're doing as somehow being a challenge to their role. And so I'm wondering about the teachers who have signed up. What is the reason why they did? What is it that they're hoping to get out of this?
I can't speak for the teachers about what they're hoping to get out of it. All I can do is stand behind our program. It is a balanced program, a third, and a third, as I said, of our speaker group. And so I think our teachers are doing an amazing job. The curriculum, they are teaching our curriculum, and they are doing what they are doing, and it is a quality product. Do I think that this conference offers another tool in their toolbox? Yes, I do. I understand that they cannot be experts in the technology and in the innovation that is ongoing today. But if you want to know and you're curious about that, then this is an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about it. One of the ideas that we had is that after this conference is done, that we would offer lesson plans if it so was acceptable to the teacher, that we could create a focus group and then work, for example, with someone in geothermal and provide a lesson plan on these are the nuts and bolts of geothermal and this is how it works. Or perhaps on wind or solar or on carbon capture. One of our speakers from Carbon Upcycling Technologies, taking carbon, and it's not for enhanced oil recovery, but it's actually putting carbon into a product. Okay, what are those products and is that useful? Well, perhaps we could make a lesson plan on saying, okay, here's one of the uses of captured carbon. And that might inspire a student to take that further. And he might, go, hey, I want to be involved in that. So the idea then is that we, have grad students from the different academia areas who understand the curriculum as it is today, and offer, a lesson plan for $5, maybe $10. I'm a non-for-profit, just gonna need to cover our costs on that. But perhaps if it has merit, then the teachers will have an opportunity to take that lesson plan and take it into the classroom. The idea then is that they could, attend a webinar or a workshop. We are hosting a teacher conference, and so some of these lesson plans will then, of course, be showcased there, and you can hear from the grad student there that or the professor, say, who is working with us to put it together. And if if they feel that it has merit, then that would be wonderful. It's just another tool in their toolbox. I want it to be recognized as an enhancement and an accessory that will allow our kids then, if they're inspired and to engage them, then you can engage them further. We also have an idea of having a few student-led action projects that, we could offer students to participate in as well, and then end up in a case competition. So they could work on it during the school year. In the end, they could present, if they so wanted to present it to a panel of teachers and people from industry and academia, just like our eclectic voices on our program have the panel there. And perhaps the top 5 people will be awarded the winners. And yeah, the idea is to inspire kids and engage them. And it doesn't have to be one of our suggested student-led action projects. There are many beautiful ones from Green Learning Canada and a number of environmental organizations that we have already here, educational environmental groups that are well known that do beautiful projects. The idea is I think we all need to be cloned. We're all trying to get the word out that we can all do better. And collaboration is the name of the game. And that's what my hope is that, we can have conversations, we can come from different areas, but we have all our kids' future in common. And that's what I'm hoping is that we're able to, leverage that and model that for our kids. And
I think you're being a bit modest. When you and I were talking off the air, you said your initial plan was to fill the Saddle Dome with 20,000 kids so that they could be in this conference. And you know what? In some ways, Zoom allows you to be able to do that. I know you've got massive capacity to be able to accommodate students. And as I'm hearing you talk, it's reminding me of a conversation that I had with the head of CLAC. I was talking to them about the potential for a charter school, because I think it's really important for kids to understand all the professions that are available to them in the skilled trades. And he said, well, charter school is one way to do it, but what we really need is to have this in every school. And as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, wonderful the teachers who've taken initiative, wonderful the kids who've taken initiative, wonderful the parents who've taken initiative for their kids, but we really do need this in every school. And I just give some advice to students who might be interested. How do they say not? Parents who want to get their kids involved, how do they sign up? Teacher who thinks, you know what, maybe I should get my classroom involved in this. How do they sign up? A principal who's listening saying, I need every class to get involved. How do we sign up? Just tell people how easy it is to get connected.
It is very easy to sign up. We have a website, so www.10peaks.ca. There's a registration page there. All the information you need is on that site. If you're a student, please, by all means, and you're curious about what the adults are doing in Alberta to address climate change, and if you are curious about to know what the possible job opportunities are there and you want to engage with Women Building Futures and Careers Next Gen, they have a networking table there all day that you can come and ask them questions. They have people there about the jobs and opportunities that they see right now in the industry. Please sign up. You can then answer the questions for our one speaker there from Suncor. And so, yes, if you want to have a voice, please come and register. And teachers, I have to say, would love to have you come join us.
How are you going to sustain this? You've already said that you have another job. This seems like it's going to be a full-time job in and of itself. Do you need help?
Well, I have a fantastic team. They're on our website too. So yes, I am by far not just doing it all by myself, although we are in a startup. And so, yes, I have been the face of, speaker solicitations and so forth. But, I think the day is going to be amazing. And I have a fantastic board with Dr. Irene Hermans and Bob Marsh, who is a grade 12 social studies teacher. And so, I'm hoping to grow and keep everyone moving forward.
So is this going to be, you said, is it going to be an annual conference? Do you already have in mind what the next one is going to be, when it's going to be, and what the topic's going to be?
It will be an annual conference. Our cycle starts in October. It will always be in October. And then, have the teacher conference ending the year in May. With the case studies and the competition there ending at that time as well. For next year, I'm thinking about putting in forestry will be the next one. Because trees are near and dear to my heart, so I'd like to showcase some of the innovation that's going on and technologies that's in that industry as well. But yeah, we'll see. I haven't quite decided yet for next year.
Fantastic. What I'm hearing you say is you put forestry on notice, you put agriculture on notice, you put tech on notice, mining on notice. You guys, you're going to have to step up because you're going to be next. And Dagmar, please look at me as a resource. We've got lots of members who are in each of these different fields. I'd be happy to connect you with some of the innovative and exciting things happening in each of these sectors to be able to assist you in putting together future conference programs. With that, I mean, I think we can wrap it up unless there's any sort of final thoughts that you want to leave people with as they're talking about this amazing initiative of yours. I always find it just remarkable that we put so much on government to lead things, or for the schools to lead things, or for teachers to lead things. It's always so amazing to me when I see private citizens saying, I see a hole, I'm going to put people together, I'm going to fix it. And so congratulations to you on that.
Thank you. I'm just a working mom. I think there's an opportunity here for people to collaborate and remember what we all have in common. And I'm hoping that this conference inspires our students and maybe help them see themselves and their future here in Alberta, no matter what path that is, and no matter what industry that is in, and no matter what business or organization that is, or what their path may be. I'm hoping that we can start to have many, many conversations on that. And that's my wish.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for your time today. Sure appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
You got it. That's Dagmar Knudsen. As you've heard, she's the founder of 10peaks.ca. Lots of our friends who are going to be participating in that conference next year. I think she said she's hoping to do forestry. But what an amazing initiative. And that to me has been kind of the challenge, is that if you sit back and wait for somebody else to do something to solve this problem, it never gets solved. That's why I was so delighted when Mark Schultz told me about Dagmar taking the bull by the horns here. And as you can see, multiple industries, she's got an incredible lineup of guests, and then connecting it in the future as well to curriculum development or lesson plans. So yes, you can change things. And what perfect timing, because in a couple of weeks' time, of course, we have the COP26 conference taking place in Scotland. And I am hopeful, although I am nervous, I am hopeful that what we will see there is some focus on carbon capture, utilization, and storage, some talk about the transformation that's happening in the energy industry. There is a little bit of a worry, and I'll be speaking with this on the news forum tomorrow with Nicolas Gagnon. There is a bit of a concern that Quebec is going to use the Glasgow Convention as a jumping off point to try to end the exploration and production of natural gas and oil within Quebec. And of course, as Quebec goes, it has a way of finding its way across the country. So we're going to talk a little bit about what Nicolas Gagnon is doing. We'll try to have him here on a podcast as well. But I think getting kids educated on the full range of services and the transformation and different industry sectors and how they're developing an environmental approach, I think that's got to be the starting point. So I hope you found some value out of that. If you're a parent or grandparent, want your kids signed up, go to 10peaks.ca. Any teachers that you think ought to be trying to bring their classes on board, let them know as well. They don't have much time to be able to sign up. It's taking place next Wednesday, October the 20th. I'm Danielle Smith, president of the Alberta Enterprise Institute. Alberta Enterprise Group. I felt like a think tank today, and we'll see you again next week.